Happy Friday.
Good morning.
Or whatever day it is that you are listening to this to. It just seems weird to not start that way.
It
does. Good morning. We are wrapping up 2 weeks of excitement, giveaways, prizes, promoting really cool companies that are creating really amazing products and doing good things in this world. And I know for me, it was super fun getting to know the companies and in some cases, even getting to know the founders of said companies.
Yep.
And that is what this is all about, right? It's
Totally.
The whole purpose of this is to support and cheerlead and collaborate and create a community that rises.
Yes, together.
In a supportive way, and not fake support, but like real, genuine support. So I hope that the last 2 weeks of not only the morning show, but also the content on my Instagram, the prizes and everything was fun for you. Yes, we should all acknowledge Laura Sparkles. That first thing when she first popped on, I was like, "Hi, Sparkles."
Yep, it's Friday and
Friday.
That's all I need.
Sparkles. You're slightly motivating me and inspiring me to like up my game a little bit, Laura.
Well, you see, 2020 was the year that I embraced loungewear. I bought pajamas. I wore sweatpants for the first time in my life. And now we're in 2021 and I'm like, all right, I'm done with that. That is not the year. This year is the year that I elevate for myself, not for anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm dressing up for work.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what's really funny about that? I remember when we first started like hanging out in person and we used to take these photos all the time of our shoes. Because I'd be like, okay, cool, we're going for a walk. And she would bring these like stylish.
These are my shoes today.
Yeah. Like the stylish, I don't even know, like they weren't running shoes. She didn't even own running shoes.
I do now.
Yeah, now you do. Yeah,
I will actually say.
But like you didn't have
proper, I like moccasins. Like I would wear like moccasins.
Yeah, she was wearing like moccasins with like fur.
Yeah.
And we would be going for like a 10-kilometer walk.
Yep.
So she was, no, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, you're gonna get blisters. All right. But anyway, yes, you are inspiring me. We shall see what I can purchase online. Yeah, I was actually thinking of getting some like really cute, because I sometimes pin my hair like this when I'm on like day 2 or 3 hair. Yep. So getting like some super cute barrettes and stuff, but I'm wondering if that will make me look even younger than I already look.
I mean,
I can't wear headbands for that reason. I would like to, but I can't because
that's solid.
Oh, you're 16. I'd be like, no, I'm actually turning 40. Anyway, we are here today to talk about things that matter.
Yes.
Although our hair and sequins matters, but we're wrapping up the 2 weeks of our 10th year anniversary, and just like the feedback and the support is just awesome. So we hope that you enjoyed it. And today we are going to wrap up the 10+1 lessons that I put in podcast 201, I believe it is. 201.
Okay.
Business of Becoming podcast 201. So if you haven't listened to that yet, you can go ahead and listen to the Business of Becoming podcast, which is my podcast, episode 201, to get all of the lessons in a condensed version. There were 3 lessons left because yesterday we sort of veered off course. And the 3 lessons that were left, we're going to talk about them all in one because they're all under the same sort of category. And so lesson number 9 was that I don't celebrate my success and growth nearly enough. And I want to talk about that because I feel like a lot of practitioners and coaches have a really hard time celebrating, being proud of themselves, acknowledging their growth. So we're going to talk about that. And then lesson number 10 is my life motto, which is always take the path of least resistance. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And then lesson 11, because I couldn't not throw it in, because I think that this is the thing that I have really worked on over the last several years and have come to really, like, while I don't celebrate, our success, like I'm like, oh, great, we hit the milestone, onward, like high five to me, onward. This is something that I'm so proud of. And it's really is that I have learned to love and accept myself for exactly who I am.
Yes.
And I don't make any apology for any of it anymore. And that doesn't mean that I'm not wrong sometimes. Like, let's just make that distinction, right? I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm saying that I work at really understanding what moves me, what drives me, what makes me tick, what triggers me, who I am as a person, who I want to be, to love and accept myself for the flaws, the whatever would seem as, not good things. And also the good things, and really sort of acknowledge that and not apologize for me being sensitive or displays leadership qualities or opinionated or loyal or whatever. Like,
totally.
You're welcome to take it and you're welcome to leave it, but like, I'm good.
Well, I think that also plays into and this is a big conversation, so we probably won't dive all the way in, but you can love and accept yourself for exactly who you are while still wanting to improve certain things.
Yes.
Like, that's a very big distinction. And I think a lot of people really get caught up in it has to be one or the other. You're either not good enough or you're completely good the way you are.
Right.
And it's
and it's funny because that goes back to like the fixed and the growth mindset, right?
Totally. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like the growth mindset is I'm learning and I'm loving the learning.
Totally.
Right? I'm appreciating what's the word I'm looking for? I'm appreciating becoming a witness to the dark side of my personality, or I am enjoying the process, as hard as it might be and as confronting as it might be. Like, I'm here for it. And I say that all the time, like, I am here for growth, which means constantly self-assessing and being aware enough to be like, you know what? I'm not thrilled with this aspect of the way my behavior is, or my mindset, or my personality. What am I going to do about that?
Totally. It's that ability to look and say, I am so proud of where I am right now versus this time 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, but I can't wait to become this person, which is my goal now.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be, I'm proud and right? Like, I appreciate and love myself, and I'm going to work on this because I'm here to elevate and I'm here to grow. And it's not like I'm stupid and I'm dumb and, I'm this and I'm that, so I better change.
Yes.
That's fixed.
Yes. Yep.
That's a very fixed mindset. So let's start at the beginning with celebrating, because we were actually having this conversation in our mastermind this week when we were talking about this idea of, really being proud and celebrating and honoring the milestones, whether they're mini milestones or big milestones. And there's a lot of us with this personality that's like onward, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And we don't stop. And the pressure of setting the goals and hitting the goals and setting the goals and hitting the goals without taking a minute doesn't feel good.
It does not.
Right. And so the example was like hitting like a goal of podcast downloads, or hitting, a number of people enrolled in your program, or hitting a certain, revenue or mile marker, whatever that is for you. And then being like, cool. And then like just carrying onward and not stopping to like celebrate. And we know that this is true. So many of our practitioners and coaches in the 10K online success system, you know, they are like, oh my God, I just got my first email reply, or, oh my gosh, like, you know, I just ran my first webinar. And it's like, celebrate this. It's a big milestone. First client, first $10,000 month, whatever it is, first $100,000 year, right?
Yeah.
Like, these are really big milestones. And the conversation that came after it was really interesting. Do you want to sort of elaborate a little bit?
I do, actually, because I think this is really interesting. I want to say as well, like, this is not something, if you struggle with this, it's normal to struggle with this. We actually purposefully had to introduce a Friday wins post into our paid groups, our coaching groups, where every Friday we actually force our clients to celebrate something because we know how important it is. So the conversation we had was really interesting because, you know, there's this school of thought that celebrating the wins has to look a certain way. It has to look a specific way. You have to, you know, choose some sort of self-care and have a dinner and have a champagne toast,
or like buy yourself something.
Buy a thing.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because then you kind of said, but let's just hold on a minute. Like, what if it doesn't have to look like that? Like, what if we challenge that narrative for just a little bit? And this opens the whole conversation of, you know, loving yourself and accepting yourself for who you are. It's like, what if that's not what's going to fill you up? What if, you know, it's acknowledging the wins in the way that you need to acknowledge them and the way that the people, you know, who were involved in the win should be acknowledged, and then moving on. Like, what if it looks like that?
Yeah.
And so interesting because you could see, you know, I feel like I could see everybody's shoulders kind of like visibly go down, like the tension left their body because celebrating to that capacity just didn't feel good.
Right.
Or it felt empty for a lot of our people, right? Like it's something they had to do,
but it felt forced.
Yes.
Yeah, it felt forced. And what I was saying about that, and so for you, if you're listening to this and you're feeling like, oh man, I should celebrate my win. I should celebrate. You know, yes, you should acknowledge your progress. Yes. 100%. You should acknowledge the progress. But typically, if you are an ambitious person, the personality, the goal achievement is not necessarily the win. That's crossing the, like, actually crossing that finish line. Meh. Like, it's the challenge of being able to cross the finish line, right? It's in the becoming of the person you needed to be able to cross the finish line. That's what feels when you're like, yeah, I did it. Onward.
Yes.
You know, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's our personality.
Yes.
Like, typically that's the personality. So what I was saying was, and this again comes back to, you know, taking the path of least resistance and like accepting yourself. It's like, what makes me feel, and this is where I think the work is to be done. What makes me feel proud of myself? Yes. Because I know for me, buying like a thing, like I can buy whatever I want. Like I don't, that doesn't make me feel proud of myself.
Yeah. Agree.
Right? Yeah, what makes me feel proud of myself is like, you know, doing a good deed or taking the day off or whatever, right? Like that kind of stuff. Yes, Violetta, today she completed all 10K tests. Like, you know what I would do if I were you? I'd go watch a shit ton of TV. Like, that's how I would celebrate that.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's like throwing away the narrative of what everybody is saying. And this doesn't just apply to business. This applies to life also. Yeah. Right? Where it's throwing away the narrative of the shoulds. Yeah. And really, if you're going to have staying power in this industry as a founder, as a CEO, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you really got to start paying attention to what makes you tick.
Totally.
And honor that. Like, what gets your rocks off, right? Like,
yeah. What's exciting?
What's exciting for you? Because for me, like having it's lovely having a dinner, having those things, that's amazing. But knowing that I can push the boundary, that is a win for me. Yeah. Knowing that I pushed myself, that in and of itself feels like a celebration. I don't need to like stop and like go to dinner.
Yeah. Agree.
That's 100%. Me.
100%.
That's me. I'm like, I did it.
Yeah.
High five. Amazing. Yeah. And now I know that I can. So let me go and use that to like elevate again.
Yes. The win is the celebration for a lot of us. But I think the important part here that a lot of us are missing is the acknowledgement of the win and then the move on. Because what we see happen, I see this in our Grow community all the time, is that our clients have this mindset sometimes where it's like they always feel less than, they always feel like they're not there yet, they're not there yet, they're not there yet. They get frustrated and they'll come to a call and be like, you know, everything's going wrong, everything's terrible, da 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 da. And we're like, okay, well, let's look at the numbers. They just came off the best month they've had ever.
Yeah.
Ever. But they didn't stop to acknowledge and treat it like a win. Like, I made 12 sales this month.
Yeah.
For the first time ever. They just said, okay, next month's 15. And then if your mindset is such that you're always striving and never achieving, it doesn't feel good.
And that, I think, is when people talk about like celebrating the win, I think the reason to stop it, like that's the reason that they focus so much on what should I do to celebrate the win? And they forget that the only important part is to the acknowledgement that you did the thing.
That is it.
And that takes
it.
Right. And what we know energetically is it takes 30 seconds.
Yes.
And the intention is set, the vibration is set, the energy is set, because when you ground yourself in that energy of acknowledgement and, you know, gratitude for yourself and just like the feeling of feeling proud.
Yes.
Like that's all you need. Like you don't need to have a party about it. I mean, you can have a party about it if that's what makes you tick.
Yes.
But the 30 seconds that you sat in genuine, like, oh, I did it, I'm a badass.
Yeah.
That like magnifies so much more than like, oh, I guess I should celebrate by buying myself a purse.
Totally. 100%.
Acknowledgement of it versus the like party about it.
Yep. It's processing the win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that comes back down to, you know, self-inquiry and really knowing and loving yourself as is to understand. Now, I'll say this too. It takes mindfulness and intention to stop, right? To stop and to celebrate. And this, you know, comes back even into the path of least resistance, where we get wrapped up in all of the shoulds. Well, I should celebrate. And then you don't celebrate. And then you feel bad for not celebrating and you ruin the whole thing.
Yes.
Right. And so it's always like, what makes you tick? How do you operate? What makes you feel the way that you want to feel? Whether that is the cultural norm, the narrative, the programming, whatever.
Yep.
And how do you achieve that via the path of least resistance?
Yeah.
Because that is like, we want to talk about fulfillment. We want to talk about time freedom and money freedom. You don't have freedom if you're always in your damn head worrying about all the things.
That is so true.
Right? Like money can't get you out of that.
No, it can't. It doesn't. We've seen it.
Right. There's no amount of money that can get you out of your head.
No.
And so that is the biggest lesson that I learned over the last 10 years is that when I can control my well-being in my mind and in my body, then everything else is, I don't want to use the word manageable, but everything else is enjoyable, even when it's hard.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you and you guys, but I like challenging. I like quote unquote hard.
Yeah.
But if I'm not in a mental state to actually take it on, that doesn't feel good.
Exactly. Teresa's saying, I love this conversation. I grew up in a home where nothing was ever good enough. If you won something or achieved something, it wasn't good enough. There was always a bigger prize or a next level. I'm trying to change my mentality about celebrating my achievements. It's really more about acknowledging the effort. Yes. I've put into the achievement and letting myself feel proud. Yes. Right. Totally. You say, Teresa, I'm so to yourself, use your name. It's the best trick in the book. Right. Teresa, I'm so proud of the effort you put into achieving this goal. Not, Teresa, I'm so proud of you for achieving the goal, right?
Yes.
I don't need a party, just the ability to show myself. Yeah, and that's what I say to my kids all the time when they're like, I did it. I'm like, and how did doing it feel?
Yes.
Are you proud of yourself for your effort? And I always say to them, good effort, good effort, good effort.
Yeah.
Right? Let's see more effort. Do you feel like you put in effort?
Yes.
They're like, well, I finished it. I'm like, I don't care.
Did you put in effort?
Yeah, you're not going to get a gold medal because you finished something. I don't care. Right? Yeah. That's not what this is about. And so it's about the effort. And I think that's why I have such a hard time when people get down on themselves because they don't celebrate the win.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but did you celebrate your effort? Did you acknowledge how badass you are right now because you fucking did that?
Yeah.
Totally. And they're like, no. I'm like, well, do that then. Instead, right?
Yeah. When you validate your own effort, then your own persona, without even conscious thought, will go ahead and keep putting in more and more effort because of the validation.
And here's the thing, and then we'll wrap up, right? So loving yourself exactly as you are in the path of least resistance. So if you are in a scenario where nobody believes in you, but you are validating your own effort, that is such a skill to build resilience because, especially as you ascend up, and we've talked about this before, and then I have people who are like, you're doing a good job. I don't need that. Thank you. No one's going to pat you on the back.
Yeah.
No one is going to pat you on the back. And that's okay. You need to be able to do that for yourself. And if you are constantly looking for external, celebrating the wins, somebody to externally validate you, somebody to accept you the way that you are, you will be miserable because that's not going to happen. That's not think about it. The role of the CEO. You are there's nobody above you, right? And you might not have family and friends, partner, children who even acknowledge what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so being able to acknowledge and validate your own effort and acknowledge and validate what makes you tick and the characteristics that you have that got you to this place. If you're able to cultivate that within yourself, you will win. You will win because if you don't have that, we can give you all the marketing and all the strategy.
All of it. Doesn't matter.
It's not going to go very far.
Nope.
Yeah. Brianna's saying it's so hard to want to celebrate when the act of celebration seems like a whole other task. Yes.
Totally. This is what we're talking about. That is it. It doesn't have to be that way.
You don't need to throw yourself a party. You just need to sit in acknowledgement of how badass you are. 30 seconds. Write it down in a journal. Today, Brianna, and use your name. Everybody get into the practice.
Brainwash yourself.
Constantly, Lori, you're a badass. Lori, you're doing a good job. Lori, keep going. Constantly.
Yes.
It changes. It matters to your psychology. But you just have to acknowledge it. That's it. It doesn't have to be this whole I should celebrate because you should. 30 seconds. I celebrate. I'm awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Done.
Yep. To acknowledge, to validate yourself. So we hope that you will do that moving forward, because it is a game changer. And if I could leave one lesson, that is it. Like, if you literally do nothing else that we've said over the last X number of years, and it's just that you start to validate and empower yourself. Yay! We did our job.
Huge win.
Yeah. Huge. To acknowledge who you are and your characteristics and the things that you are obsessed about yourself and the things that you want to improve. Well done. So I just keep saying I don't even know I was going to be here this time last year, and that in itself is amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all about the effort, always. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you on Monday. Bye.
Bye.